Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what part of the world you in, but you are in the place where your feet are. Welcome to the Chicken Box, everybody. It is another wonderful day. If you woke up, I hope you smiled a little bit, because if you even smile to yourself, you're going to feel good. Some people wake up, they look at their phone, they look right at the negative news, Jay, and then they let that seep into their brain. I don't even turn on the news. If something that bad happens, somebody going to call you and tell you about it. That sounds weird, right? You working for a place who don't turn on the news early in the morning. I don't need that in my spirit. I don't know where we going with that, but how are you today, Jay Jackson? I'm your co-host, Impeccable, and this is the Chicken Box.
I'm doing very well, thank you. I agree. Look, got to start the day out with something positive. That's always a good start. So I think today's interview is a perfect example of that.
If you jumped in and said, "What in the world is a Chicken Box?" It's a place. All right, in Baltimore, you know what a chicken box is. It's 4 wings, salt, pepper, ketchup, hot sauce, greasy box. You know the wedges. You, if you're hungry right now like me, you thinking about it. But right here, powered by the Afro, I'm gonna just say America is one of America's oldest black businesses. I think it's the third oldest black business in America. Definitely the number one in the DMV. 132-year Afro News, we call it. It used to be Afro News Papers, but we all know that papers are now turning into digital assets. But we are proud to just be powered by the Afro. And thank you for tuning in today. We got a great show for you. We're talking about Black people versus family secrets. I can't wait to get into this today. Jay, we have a special guest. I mean, we have a legendary family member coming on. And I'm going to let you start it out, Jay, and just tell us all about our special guest today.
All right. So Antwaun Gay is joining us today. He obviously the author of a new book called When a Man Exhales. He writes powerfully about his secret life as Marvin Gaye's brother, the family trauma that changed his life, and addictions that held him captive for years. We're also going to discuss the difficulties of being Black youth longing for love of family while seeking admiration through dancing, singing, and basketball. He opens up about overcoming doubt, insecurities, and family trauma, then provides hope to others who walk a similar journey of brokenness in their lives. So, Antwaun, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent.
It sounds like we have some type of echo. It might be. Do you have the Facebook on at the same time?
No, let me see.
Let's do a quick mic check real quick. Antwaun?
Yes, testing 1, 2.
Okay, I think we have it now. Hey,
Okay.
Welcome to the show, man. Listen, you are family. This is Antwaun Gay, the little brother of Marvin Gaye, which we know you have a legendary family, but you also have a legendary story to tell. We're talking about Black people versus family secrets and your new book, When a Man Exhales. You know, we used to just think a woman exhales, a man farted or something, but a man has to exhale as well. So just tell us what you've been doing. I mean, a lot of people may have never even met you or might not even have known that you existed unless they did some deep, research into the family. So tell us a little bit about who Antwaun Gay is.
Thank you. Antwaun Gay is the husband of one wife, Carolyn Gay. We have 2 children, 3 grandchildren. I was born in D.C.
All right.
And mostly raised in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And at some point was shipped to my grandmother's in the Northern Neck area, which composes of some counties called Northumberland, Lancaster, Westmoreland, Richmond County, and Tappahannock, where Chris Brown is from. And so me and Chris Brown, before he became famous, our paths crossed. But yeah, I'm a coach, trainer, minister, who've worked in law enforcement, corrections. I've been a therapeutic mentor, probation officer, gym director. So mostly working with people, ministering to people, and especially at-risk youth and adults in some capacity. And so that's been my heart. And so part of my story, my journey that God has sent me, and all the things that I kind of went through that we'll probably touch on, led me into those jobs to help give hope to those who may feel hopeless, for those who have made some bad mistakes, for those who have had some family issues that has helped cause pain in their life. And so, yeah, that's who I am. And my book, which touches on so many different topics, was in hopes that someone will live and not die and be encouraged and know that God can write another chapter in their life.
Man, I'm inspired already. Welcome to the Chicken Box, y'all. We are on with Antwaun Gay, Marvin Gaye's brother. And man, when you started out, when you said husband of one wife, I said, well, he qualifies to be a deacon. You know how they would always say the deacon was the husband of one wife. You know,
one wife.
One wife. Okay, cool. No, so is that, are you a minister or pastor as well?
I'm a minister.
Okay.
I answered a call in '96, but I talk about it in my book how I came into the calling, and then how I ran from the calling because of things that I went through.
So you put God on hold for a minute. Did he shoot you a text?
Oh,
a couple of texts.
Yeah. So it's when we go through, again, when a man exhale, we can go through things, and as men and even those who are got a calling on their life, the things that can happen that can impact the man, that can impact the family, and of course can impact those who are within the church. And so yeah, there was a time period where I went back into the wilderness due to some personal struggles I was having, and I ran.
We're going to talk about it today on the Chicken Box. I went through a wilderness experience myself. My last name is Peck, and at 40, I changed it to Impeccable. I said I had been in the 40 years of the wilderness, and I needed to do that. You know, I'm 57 now, but that's 17 years ago. So that's 17 years of impeccable, of trying to walk when you get outside the wilderness. You know what I mean? And figure out your pace in obedience with what you call. Like you touched on something good about calling, and it's not just to the ministry all the time. Everybody has some type of, you know, we call it. Remember the big push on the purpose-driven life.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to figure out, well, like, where do I fit in? You know, what am I really meant to do? And, you know, and so I think everybody has that moment. I mean, Jay, jump in, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Whatever that calling is, right? Everybody is trying to find their position in life, right? How can you help people? How can you utilize the things that you've learned, and and bring them back, and that sort of thing. I think is just the journey in which everybody goes, right? What is it like? I think Denzel Washington has some recent line about, like, in your first third of your life you earn, and then in the latter part you're basically giving back, right? You take that, you learn it, you make money off of it, or whatever progression you want, and then you take that last third to kind of give back, which I think is a good place to be in life. I do want to ask, this book is coming out now, and you have had a heck of a journey, and we'll get into it. Why was now the right time for you to write this book? Why did you feel it was important to do it right this second?
That the timing of it being ready, that I was ready potentially for success, and that I was in a place where I could authentically look into a camera, talk to men and women, and talk about, not that I'm still not a work in progress, that God is working on me and healing me and working on things in which still come at me, but in a place where I could honestly speak on the subject and be free, where it's past. But yeah, it was God so aligned people to come into my life to help me bring it to fruition, and encourage me. And yeah, things just lined up, and it was time. It was time. So, but for years, I actually finished 10 years ago. Approximately 10 years ago, I finished the book. So it took me about approximately almost 10 years because I had still learned things. It was people I hadn't yet met. It was family members I hadn't yet met. I'll talk maybe at some point about how I went and met family in Kentucky that didn't know about me and I didn't know about them.
Wow.
Okay. So it's certain things that had to happen.
So let's go back for a minute. Let's go back to childhood and tell us how many siblings do you have?
I have on my mother with I grew up with my mother and my stepfather, and so it was me and my brother Mel. We grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But of course, on the gay side, it was Gene, Marvin, Frankie, and Ziola. And then I was the secret that the immediate family knew. But if you were outside of the family, if you were a cousin, many didn't know that I existed. And so, on my mother's side of the family, which I didn't know until about the age of 40, not only did a lot of people know, but they held that thing secret. I mean, it just wasn't talked about in my house.
So your dad, your dad and Marvin's dad are the same dad.
That is our father.
Right. That is your father. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys grew up kind of in separate households?
Oh yeah. I didn't grow up with the gays at all. When I was born, the book touches on that I was in the gay household as a baby different times. And so father, Alberta Gay, actually watched over me at times.
Gotcha.
But
what age did you ever meet Marvin?
Never got a chance to meet him. The tragedy took that away.
So, right. So, you know how they always say to be at somebody's funeral and then somebody will be in the back. And that was my daddy too.
Yeah. I met my father, and I don't want to go give too much information because it's in the book, but I met my father approximately for the first time with different things going on in my life as a teenager. There were some things going on with my mother. Again, this conversation of mental illness wasn't talked about in the mid 80s. I knew nothing of it.
In the 90s.
Yeah. So all I know is that my mom is changing and there's things happening to her. And which is impacting me. I don't understand what's going on with my mother. And then around that time, there was a push within a close relative to say, you need to meet your father. He's in DC. And it's actually in some, you'll see some type of readings or things where he at some point was in DC working on selling the house. That's when I met him. So I met him.
What was that experience like?
It's one of the most precious moments I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Because for me, by that time that I met him, I knew that my stepfather was my stepfather. You know, he was the man who raised me and took care of me. And I love him to this day. He's no longer with us, but yet who am I? Who I want to meet my father. And I would always see these magazines, Ebony magazine. I would see pictures of him with dark shades on and a vest, and I'm like, okay, that's him. But I would want to meet my father. So when I met him, it was one of the most precious moments I ever had in my life to be affirmed by your father, and that you can feel and see it in his face and his tears that this is my dad and he loves me. Not knowing all the background, not knowing all the drama, not knowing anything about that. All I know is I'm loved, and my father loves me, and I'm wanted. And then 6 months later, the tragedy happens.
Did you have any connection to him post the tragedy of Marvin, or that sort of kind of severed the relationship?
That was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
So really only 6 months as a teenager to have this time.
One day.
And just only that single day as well.
Just that single night. It was at a night. And he took me around the house and showed me the different rooms. And so I was able to describe this to family members when I went looking for them. That's you can ask that later. But when I was telling him I could describe to you what the house inside looks like, rooms and stuff. And he took me in there and he promised me, he gave me my first $100 bill. He said it was a ring that he was going to give me. And then there was some other things that I haven't yet spoke on that he shared that he wanted to do. And I just look forward to going to California and meeting Marvin and meeting my other brothers and sisters and being like Arnold and Willis and having my own house and school. I'm like, I'm getting out of Fredericksburg. I'm going with my daddy, And right. Then April 1st, things changed.
Yeah, that was her. Let's put a pin in, y'all. We tuning in. We talking about family secrets. We have the brother Antwaun Gay of singer Marvin Gaye sharing and exhaling with us today and talking about his book, When a Man Exhales. So that meeting, that one day in DC, was that probably the first real exhale for you?
Yes. Because I knew my mom. She told me when I was about 8 years old that my father, my stepfather wasn't my real father, that I was related to this famous singer named Marvin Gaye, and that my father's name was Marvin as well. And the first time I ever saw Marvin on a other than an album cover was during the '83 All-Star game. So that was my first experience in even hearing what he sounds like. Other than than an album and seeing him, and I'm like, okay, you got dark shades on, and so the most memorable All-Star games for someone singing, I saw it, and so that was my experience, was mostly through other people, talking about my brother, and my dad. But yeah, it was about 8 years old. My mother told me, and then from there it was just that longing on, who am I?
Right.
Who am I? And I want to meet my dad. I want to know who I am, and yeah. I might have forgotten a little bit of the question that you asked me, but
listen, we just talking. We just black men up here talking right now. Yeah. So wherever it goes, it goes. I mean, wherever God says it's going to go, that's where it's going to go today. That's today's show. Yeah. Thanks for anybody tuning in. We're telling the story about When a Man Exhales, and Antwaun Gay is sharing some of his innermost feelings, and he's not the only man that's ever longed to meet their biological father. And they say everything you go through is not for yourself, it's for somebody else. So he's realized that it's for somebody else, and after 10 years, the book is ready to be birthed.
and may I say this? You asked me, I think the question you asked me was that when I first exhaled?
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct?
Yes.
That's not only the first time I exhaled, but then the tragedy was the first time when I started suppressing emotions from the pain.
So what's exhale to you mean?
Exhale means for me is all the layers of from trauma and pain that can be inflicted on us. Of course, it comes from a man's perspective, of course, but it impacts women that happened to us as young, in our youth, as young boys. And then the things that we can bring on ourselves over a period of time, these things start just suppressing and just building layers of stuff, of hurt and pain. And we don't necessarily deal with it. We just package it. And we just try to move on. And we try not to share the tears of how bad things hurt, but it comes out in other ways. It comes out in, addictions, whether it be lustful addictions, whether it be anger, whether it be
alcohol,
whatever, drugs. For me, I try to hide it in sports, battle dancing, because that's where my self-esteem, I was picked on growing up. So around this whole time, my mother is dealing with her issues, and was taken away from me for a while and went to a mental institution for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Tragedy happens. And so now I'm picked on in my neighborhood. And so trying to get in, trying to belong. And so sports, the first time I did a dance kick like Michael Jackson, or a pop move, pop locking, or, shoot a basketball, and then how it brought smiles on people's face. And so I ran after that.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, okay, that makes a person accept and receive me. Mm-hmm. And with my stepfather, he worked hard, loved, a good man, but he was a person that, would hug you and say, I love you. And, like you see with Mr. Huxtable on, some of the TVs, he worked hard. Good evening, went upstairs, and he got ready to do work the next day. And so, but that longing of being loved, it started coming out, manifesting in trying to be like Marvin, to be a star. That's what brings the love and affirmation that makes me feel so good. So I ran after it, as I think many young African-American males, whether it be through sports.
Well, they're still chasing it now. I mean, they chasing it with the likes on YouTube and the likes on TikTok and Instagram. You chasing it sometimes, and sometimes you got to just be who you are and not chase it. But that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. Jay, what you thinking about down there?
So my thought is, you mentioned about the level of insecurity and the sort of overcoming that doubt, right? How do you take the lessons that you've learned, and like you said, everybody, you're still working through it. Like, that is, we are never a done project, even by the time that we pass away. We are always still in act 2, as I like to think of it, right? But the things that you've learned in your life, how did you take those things and apply that to like other sort of potentially wayward youth that you dealt with these other programs and these other experiences that you have? How did you sort of bring that your life experience to that, and sort of helping, guiding people maybe out of a bad situation into a better one?
Letting them know that they're not an accident. One, no matter what their father or their mother, how they got here, they're not an accident. And they've been given great purpose. And no matter that there's no one that has their eye print, that no one has their voice print, and no one has their fingerprint, there will never be another one like them. And so trying to be like my brother was not the answer, to be famous or to be a star. And if God's so fit for that to happen, okay, then amen. But the purpose is for you to strive to be great and know that you have a purpose, that you're not an accident. Whatever pain that has happened in your life, that is whether brought you to a detention center, to jail, to prison, to a halfway house, whatever. The fact that you're living shows that your creator, who has given you a purpose, is not through with you and wants to write another chapter in your life. And so you can leave the past behind. It doesn't matter if you, again, from what I went through, there's many pictures of my father in handcuffs with the same little white hat on, and known for what he did. But I'm not my father's mistake. It happened, but I'm not a mistake. And that, you have purpose. And so that's what I've tried to do. And so being in the jails and prison, and I changed my name to Gay around the age of 40. So it was Carey for many years. And I did it while I was watching. And they like, so you are Marvin Gaye's brother. Why are you here? And I said, I'm glad you asked that question. I said, my purpose is not based on money. My purpose is not based on my name and lights. God knew that I would be willing to answer his purpose for my life and to come into these walls and tell you that you're loved, to tell you that your mother and that your father, that grandmother who's been praying for you, who you've been kind of ignoring, that God is, is sending me in here to tell you, hey man, tighten up. There's an enemy that's trying to destroy your life. There's an enemy that's trying to get you to run after, again, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, and all those things that don't bring true fulfillment and happiness. And that you're more than that. And that jail and prison is not where you're supposed to be. This is not your calling and purpose in life. So that's how I use those things from my experience to hopefully inspire and motivate others to realize that they're great all in themselves. Just it's not based on their money. It's not whether they'll be famous. You are valuable. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And so the thing is, in that scripture is, you can have the world, having the whole world and having all the things that the world says that you need to have or want to have to be somebody. God says it's not in comparison to your soul. That's how valuable your life is, that you can have all those things and it will never meet the price of your soul.
We talking something today, y'all. This is the Chicken Box. We talking about family secrets. We talking about a great book, When a Man Exhales, by the bonus brother, little brother, the brother of the legendary Marvin Gaye, and he is talking some real talk. So I'm right with you, Antwaun. I'm gonna exhale on the Chicken Box right now myself. All right.
Go ahead, brother.
First, I'm married for my third and final time. I'm not geeking material, but anyway. but during the first marriage, my wife and myself, you're young, you're learning, or whatever else. So anyway, I'm not settled, so I go out there as men have, and a baby pops up. I'm married. It's another baby that's supposed to, it's the secret is now out. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? And I don't think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I found out personally that I decided to share it with my then wife. It was a heart-wrenching day. It was biblical weeping and crying. But I'm so glad you said what you said. You're not a mistake. I said my bad decision doesn't affect your benefits to the family, because you still, as my son, deserve to know your family and to receive all the benefits. Now, some people know this, but I'm online, so now they're like, "Oh, I didn't know." Whatever. You got to get to a point where, because with the enemy, and we're talking to people who are spiritual right now, they will try to get you to suppress this information and use it against you so that you destroy yourself internally based on this quote unquote secret, right? But then when you expose it and turn some light on it, it's no longer the biggest thing in the world. Yes, the pain of receiving the news is heart-wrenching, and you don't want anybody to go through it. But it wasn't that heart-wrenching when you made that decision to step out, right?
Yeah.
So you made that decision. You think, I'm gonna step out. I got game. I got blah blah blah. She getting on my nerves over here. Okay, well, here's the result of your action. Now, man up, right?
Yeah.
Fellas who will listen, now it's time to man up. Right. If not, you at the funeral and somebody in the back is crying that nobody else in the whole family knows. You'll be surprised how resilient the other children are. You know what I mean? And they don't have the baggage or the guilt, that they just say, hey, that's my brother. To this day, all of my kids are just, they tight because from birth, it wasn't a secret. So you go through your storm, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then maybe that whole storm was for today, for one person listening
Amen.
who's got that quote unquote family secret, that hidden situation, that hidden child. So Impeccable has officially, even though I exhaled back then, but when I tell you, you know, you got to take your medicine, fellas. You got to really take your medicine and man up.
Well, thank you for sharing that. In my book, you're going to find out how similar we are, and potentially that potentially almost occurring in my life. I mean, me and my wife at some point, I will say we did separate. And again, I talk about addiction, and every man, that's the thing, every human being, but we're focusing on men. We have strengths and weaknesses. And just like whether you're saved or unsaved, the enemy knows your weakness. And so being a former coach, you know, one of the first things I do when I'm getting ready to play another team, I'm looking at your weaknesses. And that's where I'm going to attack. Oh, you can't go left? Oh, make him or make her go left. Oh, you all don't rebound well? Oh, we're gonna pound the boards. And so what happens is that we don't realize that those weaknesses is where we need God to accentuate our strengths, but strengthen our weaknesses. And it comes with accountability. For me, it comes from not running from the church, but running to the church when I was going through. You know, having another man that I could talk to, to be accountable, to some of the things that I was, had became addicted to and was impacting my life, was impacting my ministry. Again, as you said, trying to keep it a secret. I became isolating. That's exactly what the enemy wants, is for us to isolate ourselves. Don't tell nobody, especially if you have some type of form of reputation. But that's the thing that he wants, is for you, because it's going to just grow. And at some point, it's going to come out.
Oh, it's coming out.
Yeah.
I don't care what you've done. It is coming. Now, you might not think you get caught, you the coolest, slickest, you got game. All that game gets revealed at some point. And a person that you really probably love is going to get their heart ripped apart with a razor blade and alcohol poured in it. That's how much. Just if you could put that vision on it, that's what's going to happen. And a lot of times it's a little thing, and you probably talk about it in your book of just like, can you just get over this little thing? Like men say, man, I just can't. I can't be with one woman. I can't do. You can, but you got to really search inside yourself and say, okay, well, why do I really want to be with all these different women? You know what I mean? Or what's the real thing? You see the most powerful men in the world. This black, white, all men, right? Who get tripped up over a side hustle.
That's one way of putting it, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it side hustle for real, because you just hustling. You right, you might not be. I mean, and sometimes you do get emotionally attached because you spiritually connecting anyway.
Yeah.
But Jay, jump in, because I'm great.
Let me.
I'm gonna go down the hole and I don't know if everybody ready for that.
We got hopefully more segments to talk on the different issues that I touched on in my book.
Yeah, we
a whole bunch of them I put in
the chapters, and we might have to just have an offline mid. This is enough, and hopefully it helps somebody. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's one person. If you have one person to be free from whatever guilt or secret that they're keeping inside, and it's wretching them, they still alive.
Yeah,
you still got a chance for that other child to know that you love them, and to feel that they're part of the family. They just they need some affirmation, y'all.
Yes.
Jay, jump in, man.
So what I would say is, you have your story of being this child who's sort of brought in after quite a while into this like famous family, and only quite, for a very short amount of time. And then, you kind of have this disconnect because of the tragedy that happened with your father and your brother. When you were sort of kind of going through this like realization of, okay, I'm going to do all these things so I can get this admiration, right? My brother was incredibly famous and everybody was all about him for obvious reasons. And you're like, okay, me as, I guess you were probably a teenager at the time, right? Or, more.
During the tragedy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you during that time?
14 when the tragedy happened.
Right. So, which is, prime time for kids to be trying to like, what am I supposed to be doing in the world? Right. And then it's like, oh, okay, you're thrown into this family situation, everything else. When you start to realize, or maybe it's not even, maybe it's quite some time after that you're kind of gunning for this admiration and like, hey, look, I could be famous too, or I can do these things and I can be important too. What is the moment in your life then or later where it's kind of like you stop trying to live for that admiration, but you start kind of living for yourself, right? Because I imagine there, just in listening to you talk, I imagine there's that, come to Jesus moment, so to speak, right? Where it's like,
there you go.
Whose life are you living, right? Are you living a life you think they want for you, or are you living your life? Because that happens even when people don't have, tragedies like this, or grow up in these sort of kind of split families and things like that. There is that moment where you go, all right, whoa, pump the brakes. I'm supposed to be at the wheel here. What is that moment for you? When did you have that? What does that look like for you?
It started happening. Great question. It started happening when the things that I trusted in and that I had always yearned for on a lower level than my brother, much lower level, started failing me. My basketball, I tore my ACL. I won MVPs. I talk about in the book. So there's basketball stories in it. I won MVP dunk contest, and I kept tearing my ACL, just damaging my knee. So damaged my basketball career, my dreams of wanting to go into the NBA, broken hearts and relationships with young ladies, not understanding, again, the power of intimacy with another young lady. And then if you get your heart broke, that stuff don't feel good. And again, when a man exhales and knowing what it's like not to eat, wondering what that person is doing and having thoughts of, okay, I'm gonna go over there and see what they're doing, and all kinds of issues, and coming outside of the club and can talk to many women in the club, but not happy, and saying, is this all that life has to give? And then there was one situation with a young lady who that hurt me pretty bad. And the first time I ever thought about suicide, I never thought, that thought never even entered my mind, but just the fact that it came out of my pain scared me. Right. And I realized, the devil, you're trying to destroy me, and it's not going to work. And I remember crying out to God. I was down a country road, and I said, yelling at the devil, saying, you're not going to kill me. And I went back home. And on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, my mom found me at home and not going out to the club. And I said, Lord, I got saved when I was 12, but I never gave you all of me. I've been running after the world and running after these things that brought the, pleasure and excitement and stuff, but I'm not happy. And so I went back to church, rededicated my life to Christ. And that was the beginning of realizing, oh my gosh, I finally read the word, and my goodness, oh, there is an enemy that's trying to destroy me. Oh, David just didn't kill Goliath. David actually committed adultery. It was, and had a man killed. So I'm reading through the scriptures. I'm seeing real life situations of people who need God, but yet had a calling on their life. Right. The frailties of man, and and the things that man can do when he surrenders to God. So I started realizing that my identity was found in Christ. It was found in Jesus. And Lord, what have you called me to do? I know it's to help somebody. I know it's to be to make a difference for the better. But what is it? But that was, after all those things that started happening to me was failing me. Almost similar when you hear the story of Deion Sanders, just on different, all those things, Deion Sanders and all the things. And this man has tried to take himself off a cliff. Mm-hmm. But on a much lower level, just the things that was failing me. That it sent me back to my roots of when I got saved when I was 12, and I went back to the church. And from there, I started growing into, okay, yeah, this understanding the spiritual game that's going on, that you can't see with the natural eye, that we truly wrestle against, not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers that wants to take every human being to not know off course and not know their purpose, first know their creator, and then not know the distinct purpose on why they were called and put on this earth. So that was, I know it's
they don't want, no, they don't want you to know you're a king.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay called it he called it a TTJ.
How old were you?
I was around the age of 20, between, about 19, 20, about 20 years old. Okay. Because I was, and wasn't yet legal to buy liquor going to a strip club. And I've never been, when I tell people I've never been to a strip club in my life, like, huh? Like, yeah, I got rededicated my life to Christ when I was about 20.
Yeah, you got out just in time. There you go.
Yes. I don't think I ever would have went to a strip club anyway. That just wasn't my thing. But I think I probably would have went out of curiosity, just like, okay, let me just see what this thing's about. But I didn't, that was my thing. But anyway, it's about the age of 20. Not the age of 20.
Why does everybody laugh when they say the word strip club? Is it a comedy?
I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Yeah, man.
We are talking to Antwaun Gay, brother of a legendary Marvin Gaye. Antwaun is a legend in itself. He just hasn't been revealed to the people yet. Now it's his time. He's done his time in the wilderness and the refinement that God has to do. And so now he is ready to share his story. And he starts off with a book called When a Man Exhales. Where can you get this book, Antwaun?
It's on Amazon.
Amazon, all right.
Yes, find it on Amazon, and hopefully it'll be on some other places, but it's on Amazon.
That's enough. If you're listening to this and you don't know Amazon, you need some help right now. I mean, go right there and get yourself a book. I mean, give yourself a gift. And is it an audio version yet as well, or is it just?
That's the next step. And of course, I'm going to use my own personal voice. And a lot of people are asking me, Antwaun, you need to put it in audio form. And like I said, anyone who starts reading it, the women are going through it like almost in a day.
Oh yeah, because men, listen, them women, they getting that blueprint. They dissecting how you built. Believe me, you just put anything online about something about a man, and they like they getting that data, and then they understanding you before you understand you. You're like, wait a minute, what'd you say?
And men, there are men who are reading it, who have told me, like, man, I don't read books much. We need to, of course, read more books, and that's what I'm hoping with, even with youth, the importance of literacy and understanding history. But they're saying, man, I see my man that I saw myself. And
I go to your website and find out some information.
Yes, AntwaunGay.com.
Okay.
And you will find the different social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, where people can connect with me.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's such an impactful piece of work. Just the name alone. If you just could take a moment every day to exhale, fellas, because we got enough being men. Then we got enough being black men. Then we got enough being black men and even married or fathers.
Yes.
And just where we are in society. And they say slavery's dead, but it's not. It's just shifted around in some other ways that have gotten our people into a mental slavery. So that your mind is not. Go ahead, talk about it.
Can I say something concerning what you just said?
Absolutely, man. It's the chicken box. Say whatever you want.
Part of my, again, I'm praying with the story because, again, it has, there's things in the book concerning my father, and things in my book that you're not going to find in any book concerning my father and Marvin. So there's some things I put in there that the world is going to hear for the first time concerning my father, Marvin, my mother, how my mother even got to know the Gay family, how that dynamic happened. But I have, there's a prison story in there, a trauma that happened to me when I worked as an officer. My journeys working in the prison and jail system. There's church hurt stories in there. And then there's, dealing with my addiction that I struggle with. And then the things that impacted, of course, first my wife, the women in my life, my daughter, my wife, and how that impact, our trauma, our pain, our selfishness impacts the women in our lives.
Absolutely.
And the pain that comes from that, if you are a man who do care, how that hurts you to see the pain that you've inflicted on precious souls of another gender. But also the thing that it touches on is, in a world where as a male and then as a black male, I just happen to be, God put me sovereignly in this skin. The number one cause of homicide amongst young black men, the number one cause of death amongst men, young men, is homicide.
Mm-hmm.
And all the things that the world tries to keep a male, but especially, again, a young black male, knowing who he is, of not appreciating who we are, and that we're not an afterthought, and that there is history in this country that you need to know. You need to know biblically first who you are, because every man has strengths and weaknesses, white or black. But understand the dynamic of how the system of this country has things set up for you not to to know how intellectually smart and gifted you are, and that your purpose is not just to make money, but it's to help to make a difference in your neighborhood as an African American youth or man, and know that there are a whole bunch of stereotypes and things out here that's being played on in the media to make you think that you are that greatness doesn't lie within you, when it does. We've been wonderfully and beautifully made and have been given a great purpose. And unfortunately, there are forces in this country that who don't want Black youth to know who they are and the achievements and the price that has been paid for them, and that we owe. And that in that is not that we're superior to anybody else, but if other brothers and sisters in our country understand that in helping, if you knew that the next that the cure of cancer was in the mind of one of these young boys who have died in the streets of DC or Baltimore or California, then resources would be sent to help men, pastors and ministers in those areas to help save those souls. Mm-hmm. But because there's a disregard, but you'll build a barn for them, but you won't seek to save them. The hypocrisy of American Christianity is on that right now. But
we're gonna have a whole show on that one.
Yeah, that's where
you can come back on that.
But that's and that's why I'm that's
you can come back on that with me. But a lot of times people rest their life on if a man or woman is going to be perfect or imperfect, because at the end of the day, God's still going to be perfect. But if you put what you believe in on the man, and the man makes a mistake just because he's a man or woman, and you let that affect what you can be, then you've missed the mark of what a human, because of the human side of life. And so, yeah, we need another show on that one, Jay. You said one thing while you were, I got your second book for you. God just gave it to me. It's called Blackmail.
I may write that title down. I have a different title.
It's for you. It's for you, not me. It's
that's for free. That one's for free.
It's a good movie. You know what I mean?
Amen. And let me say again before we go is that again, Black or white, I have youth of all races that look up to me, and it's just again the thing that's prevalent in this country is again the divisiveness that's used, and the body of Christ for me as a Christian has the answer to the racial tension that's in the country, but we have to deal with the racial division that's in the church first, and be honest, and then the world will see, what because heaven and hell is going to be multicultural.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a diverse. So this
blood is red no matter what. If you cut us off, We're gonna bleed red. I'll tell you that much.
But thank you for letting me share that. Thank you.
Hey man, you have touched on it. We are wrapping up close to the time. I mean, Jay, if you got one more question, if not, we're gonna get on the box and get out of here.
No, let's get on.
Let's get final words, y'all. This is we're powered by the go to afro.com, y'all. This is not a shameless plug. This is the plug. For 132 years, we have been telling fantastic stories and good news about our people. If the Black press didn't exist, you wouldn't know that we were husbands, fathers, that we got married, that we were doctors, that we owned businesses, that we had great stories to share, that we served in the armed forces. We got archives, y'all. Go to afro.com. We're 100% family and African-American owned for over 130 years. They cannot change our narrative within our walls or edit our stories. So we need your support. For less than 2 Uber Eats, $40 for the year, not a month, guys. $40 for the year. You allow us to have great stories, train new videographers, reporters, editors, everything we need to get the word out of how great we are as a people. And if nobody's going to tell our good story, the Afro has been and will always continue. And hopefully for another 132 years after I'm gone, and this will be in the archives, and they'll be looking at it and be like, well, who were they and what device are they on? You know what I mean? Like, so the newspaper will be like whatever we're on now to them, and they'll look at this and it'll be antiquated. So thank you very much for those who already have subscribed, and it's a great Christmas gift. You can give it for $40. They're not going to miss it. It's going to come to their email or phone every single week. So having said that, we're going to the part where you can get on the box. Final words, Jay, on the chicken box, whatever you need to exhale and get off your chest. If you're ready. If not, you can exhale another time, because all men got something to get off their chest. Believe me.
Fair enough. So one, I want to thank Antwaun Gay for coming in. It was an excellent conversation. What I would say is Antwaun is making a point that I think is often not dealt with enough, which is men have just as much of an array of situations that they go through, and we have more emotions than just happy or angry, right? And that we are full human beings, and especially Black men are often not able to be fully themselves or fully experience life in those ways because we are put into a very small box. And I appreciate you speaking very candidly about your life experience and what that meant for you as a teenager or as a small child, what that meant for you as you sort of refound yourself and as you grew into adulthood. I think, when young people go through these kind of things, one of the most powerful tools that anybody who's older than them can provide to them is to say, you are not alone.
Amen.
And that these experiences, there is nothing new under the sun. We wish that there were, but unfortunately, it is just generally a rehash of what other people have gone through. And when people feel like they're not alone, that is when I think people can really go, they can take that, they can exhale and go, okay, if this person got through it, I can get through it. Amen. But so much of you mentioned just quickly, suicidal ideations and things like that come from feeling isolated and feeling like you do not have some anchor to grab onto in the middle of the sort of ocean of all these emotions and things like that. So Antwaun, I appreciate you being one of those sort of not anchor, buoy more so, that people can grab onto and read those experiences and go yeah, my brother was not a famous singer and went through this tragedy, but this other story that in the book, that's me, or this other story is me. And to me, that's more powerful. White, Black, young, old, whatever. I think everybody can see themselves in these stories. So for that, I appreciate it.
All right, I'm on the box. All right, let's breathe in. Let's breathe out. That's an exhale, right? Let's breathe in. And let's breathe out. Some of the frustration, some of the pain, some of the anger, some of the unknown, some of the not knowing your purpose. You know your purpose. What angers you? what makes you upset, what drives you, that drives you bananas when it happens. That's part of your purpose that you're supposed to be in. What calling did you get that you put on call waiting? Which, does that still exist anymore? Call waiting. that you're not answering the call, so you're delaying.
Yes.
The journey that God has for you, because you're either called to a person or a group of people. Think about that. You're called to a person or a group of people. What are you doing to get in position where you are? Yes, you might feel lost because you're out of position. Now, you don't want to get in position because you are fearful. You are, you don't understand the unknown. But God is not going to give you the whole picture. He just expects you to listen and take a step. And then the rest will be real. Now, if you can't listen and you've been hitting your head the other way, like some people who don't even have a relationship with God, I said, look, try them for 30 days. If it don't work, you can always give them back. But if you've never even tried them, you know what I'm saying? I got problems with my money. Okay, God said, here's the solution. Tithe. Oh, I can't give no money to that church. That man got a Bentley. I mean, he crooked. I ain't giving no money to that organization. He didn't say that you giving it to the organization. You just being obedient, giving it to a place that you think the money should go. Now, what the place does with the money, that's on them. That has nothing to do with it. It's the principle that you said, okay, God said, okay, I want my money straight, so give. I want my family straight, so do this. I want my marriage straight, so do this. And if it's not working, I'm going to employ you before 2025. That means today that you can get started with just be obedient to one thing. If you can't get it all together, don't kill yourself. Be obedient to one thing. I'm on the box. I thank you, Antwaun Gay. Like you said, I gave you my number. We're going to talk because we got a lot of similarities. But this is your season to really reach and help people, because you've finally been obedient yourself. You've gotten you got your family and your life together, and now it's time to share your story, because it's going to set a bunch of people free. So I'm looking forward to the journey of Antwaun Gay, the other side of the Marvin Gaye family, right? We're gonna have to, and if you can sing, boy, let me just tell you.
Preparation. That's all. Yeah.
All right, Antwaun, you are on the box, my brother.
I'd like to first thank y'all, and again, for having me. This is a blessing. I do not take it lightly. I owe all that God has done for me, the mercy and grace that He has shown me. I owe. And so thank you for this opportunity. And I just want to share with the audience, white, black, male, female, know that you're loved by God. Know that you have purpose. Know that just like a puzzle, we need what God has given you. That's how valuable you are. We need what God has given you. And so the puzzle can't be complete if you're not giving your share and walking what God has called you to do. And so, again, thank you, gentlemen. And I just pray that, and you mentioned some things about church things too. That's a whole nother conversation, but just know that, God is love. And my brother wasn't afraid to say that God is love and that Jesus loves you, and know that your life has purpose, and know that, that you're loved. Don't give up. Don't isolate yourself. Don't condemn yourself. Be convicted, not condemned. Be convicted, not condemned. And
that's the word. That's the word for the holidays, y'all. You know what I always say, call a senior, because they want to hear from you. They're very lonely at times. They're isolated at times, and especially during this season, when a lot of their family has gone on to be with God. Don't text them, call them.
Amen.
Call your auntie, your uncle, your grandparents, somebody, a senior in your family. They would love to hear. Believe me, 5 minutes will change their life. Guys, thank you very much. And thank you for joining Chicken Box J. And Antwaun, you guys have a beautiful holiday.
You
And
too.
you got my number. So whenever you want to connect or anytime you just want to talk about some exhale stuff, you need, you feel like you about to,
Conversation.
the pot's boiling and you about to, and that water's about to spill on the, sometimes you just got to call the man and be like, look, man, I'm feeling this way. And then we can talk about it. And then
Can I say one last thing before we go?
Man, what did I say? This is the chicken box. You can say whatever you want to say, bro.
Men, fathers, father other people's sons. You can be the best father in the world, but we need each other. So that coach that you can't be around your son all the time. So there was a pastor that a bishop who told a whole bunch of men, we were on a youth men's retreat, and he asked us, he challenged us to father other people's sons. Other people should, so because there's a need. So whether you coaching, whether you the custodian, whether you the teacher, whatever, but father other people's sons and daughters. Because one man can't be everything, no matter how good he is to his son. He's not omnipotent, he's not omnipresent, can't be everywhere. So yeah.
That's good.
Thank you.
Everybody, and I'm gonna leave with this. You made me think about, we're looking at, you like football, Antwaun?
I like watching the highlights, yes.
Okay. You got some quarterbacks who would trash you seemingly at other teams, and then they got at another team and they seem to flourish, which makes me think that everybody just needs somebody to believe in them. So that little push to another child or another young man, I'm telling you, it's going to make them flourish. Just them knowing that you believe in them will get them to across the hurdle to make a difference. So I'm done with that. This is going to become a man's conference in a minute. So, Jay, Antwaun, everybody listening, Joe, everybody share this, because somebody needs to hear it. Black, white, man, female. Look, the women are listening. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Amen.
They always do. Fellas, we gotta catch up. We gotta catch up. We gotta catch up. All right, everybody, take it easy. Have a great day.
You too.